Well, hey there, church family. Today I have an exciting update for you. As you may know, on Wednesday, Governor Bullock issued a directive for the phased reopening of Montana and established some conditions for this first phase. Now, in this directive, he specifically addresses the new guidelines for places of worship like our church. Here's what the directive actually says. Effective Sunday, April 26th, places of worship can become operational with reduced capacity and where strict physical distancing protocols can be maintained between non-household members. Places of worship should avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people in circumstances that do not readily allow for appropriate physical distancing. And that's all it said. But it's something, at least. So let me talk to you briefly about what we know and what we're trying to figure out. Okay, first of all, what we know. Now, despite the green light to begin meeting this Sunday, we will be targeting next Sunday, May 3rd, as our first Sunday back together. So that means that this Sunday's message will still be available only online on Facebook and on YouTube. So why wait? Well, we have some important things that we need to figure out before we can resume our church services, and that will take more than a couple days to do. We also know that even when we do resume our Sunday gatherings, that some things will still not be available at first. Children's ministries, nursery, small groups, Sunday school, fellowship with donuts and coffee, celebrating communion. These are still things that will fall outside of the phase 1 reopening guidelines because these are things that cannot be done while still allowing for appropriate physical distancing. Now, here's what we have to figure out. How do we gather together with an intentionally reduced capacity, and for how long do we need to prepare to do so? Do we need to add a third service, maybe even a fourth service, to ensure that our attendance remains manageable within the physical distancing protocols? If so, how do we determine who comes to which service? Then, how do we set up our chairs to both accommodate families and still maintain the infamous 6-foot rule? How do we keep our church facility continually disinfected, and what haven't we been doing that we may need to start doing? Things like disinfecting chairs and doors and sinks and so on in between each service. Now, how do we continue to minister to those in our church family who may choose not to come back to our gatherings right away? Also, even though we have a starting date for the governor's first phase, we don't have a timeline after that at all. So we don't know if we should be planning for days, weeks, or months of adjustments. And I'm sure that there will be even more questions of what and how that will come up as we begin discussing our next steps. For now, you should know that our board will be meeting on Sunday morning to discuss these very things and more. And when we have a plan in place, at least initially, we will be sure to communicate that to you in a timely fashion, hopefully early next week. Listen, we are glad that we might be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here, and we are glad that this is a step that we Montanans are getting to take a lot sooner than many other people. We would ask that you would continue to be gracious with us and others as we navigate these unfamiliar waters, and we ask that you would continue to be patient until we have no restrictions on our gatherings. Please keep praying for our church leaders, myself, Pastor Phil, and our board, and our ministry leaders, as we meet to discuss our options and put together a plan that has to take into account many different variables, many of which are unknown, many different expectations and needs and preferences. We love you guys, and we are excited and looking forward to being able to see you again very soon. Have a great day. We'll see you online on Sunday.